Welcome. This is going to be a playthrough of Mark Herman's Waterloo in issue 33 of C3I magazine. I actually already did the playthrough. I'm just recording this introduction. Oh, don't worry, I won't spoil what happens. I think it was a pretty exciting game. This video is by no means meant to teach you the game. It's even by no means meant to teach you strategy for the game. Although I do go through extensively why I do stuff and my reasoning for it. Now that I'm done with it, I realized that it was a super long video, but I had a lot of fun. And maybe the 10 people who watch this will also have a lot of fun. I'm going to try to sparse it out. So if you want to jump to certain turns or if you want to jump to the review at the end, you can. That's fine. Like I said, I'm not trying to teach anybody anything, but I do want to go over what's what and what units are what. So this is basically Napoleon. This is his command range. He has a normal side and a battle side. The battle side gives him a bonus. Units with stars get a bonus in combat, but HQs when they're on their battle side have less range than if they're on their normal side. These big squares are corps. Here's the third corps under Van Damme. They have a march mode, or I think it's advance in this game, and battle mode. Here we have the Guard Cavalry. You can tell it's cavalry because it has a horse and a guy on a horse. It also says calf. These are the Prussians. Here's Blucher, the commander of the Prussians. Here's a corps for the Prussians known as No Star. Here's the man everyone's been talking about, at least on the forums in this game, Wellington, with his incredible 2-star battle rating of 3. On the other side, he is a 10 range. And all the Anglo-Allied corps have 2 stars. And then these are detachments. Here's the King's German Legion, by far the coolest detachment. More on that later. For those of you who don't know, this side is fighting this side. Napoleon is fighting these guys. In this game, historically, Napoleon kind of gets his butt kicked. I think he almost pulls it off, but he kind of gets his butt kicked. And even if he did win, it's doubtful whether he would have won the whole war. For those of you who are watching this who might be my students, because this is normally a channel for my videos during this quarantine time, you don't have to watch this video. I just made this for fun. I hope you enjoy the video. Opening moves to Mark Herman's Waterloo 1815 campaign. The French rolled well. This is the full campaign. I have many thoughts on this game. I enjoy it. I think it's really fun, and I think it's really cleanly designed. I think I'm running into the same problem that everyone else is running into, and that I think that the British are just a little too overpowered. But I recently read a strategy article by Mark Herman, which inspired me as the French to storm forward and crush those dirty coalitionists, if that's even a word. The French rolled pretty well. They got a 5 on turn 1, plus 3. They got 8 moves. They moved Grouchy and the 4th Corps to attack Chalette, or however you pronounce that. I'm going to mispronounce everything, except maybe Napoleon. And they maneuvered to attack Charleroi and to attack their D'Erlon in typical D'Erlon fashion, is behind on everything. And will the Prussians maneuvered 1st Corps, that shouldn't be there, but whatever, from this place to here. I found in my past games that that's a good position to be in. I am, of course, playing this solo. It's quarantine 2020, so I don't have anyone else to play with. Single tier. End of the first turn of attacks, AM, June 15th, with predictable results, although not as predictable as may appear. Things almost went terrible. Well, maybe not catastrophic, but almost very poorly for the French. Van Damme had no problem. He pushed that... he actually barely pushed that Prussian detachment out of the crossing on the Sambre, however you pronounce that. I'll just call it Pont. The Guard eliminated the detachment in Charleroi. Girard, in typical Girard fashion, with a +3 modifier. I think that's how it works. He gets +1 for the star, +1 for the cavalry. That's a +1 for the star, +1 for the corps that's adjacent, and another +1 for the cavalry because the cavalry is adjacent to him, which is +3, and then +2 because he was attacking a detachment. His first roll, which is total +5,
The Prussians at a +2, so net +3. His first roll, he was -3, and it was a stalemate. And I forgot to add a modifier, so at first I had him retreating all the way back here, but then his second attack, he got in. That was lucky because the French only got 4 attacks. My hand is huge. The French only got 4 attacks. They spent 1, 2, and then 3, 4. So they were lucky to get across, but so far we have open terrain. And Girard in his second attack did eliminate the Prussian detachment. So currently we have 2 victory points for the French and none for the Allies. Let's roll to see how many moves everybody gets. So, let's see. We'll do this live. Ooh, fancy. The French will be adding +1 because D'Erlon's not there, and the Prussians get X number. Ooh, 5 and 5. So, the French will get 5 moves, and the Prussians will get 5 moves as well. We'll come back. Okay, one thing that Mark said about this game that I wholeheartedly agree with is probably the most important part of the game is one, where you place your HQs and where you place your detachments, but 2, which I definitely have not mastered yet, either of these things, but 2 is going to be when you pass. I don't think you should really use all your moves, because if you use all your moves, then it's just going to allow your enemy to concentrate you, especially the French. I'm mostly trying to play this from the perspective of the French. I want to win as the French. I'm not going to be not trying as the Allies, but I'm definitely going to be favoring the French here. And what I've done in the past is I've deployed Wellington and Blucher in battle formation. And Wellington especially has just punished the French. So the French see that and they want to stay away from it. However, this is only the second turn. Forgot to move the turn marker. This is only the second turn. The British can't even move. Sorry, Anglo-Allied can't even move. So I don't have to worry about those super strong corps coming down. But as the French, I only have 5 moves. So where do I want to go? And what do I see? Well, I deployed, because I got to deploy my detachments first, I deployed Grouchy, the reserve detachment here, try to stop the Prussians from just coming in this way, slow them down a little bit, and to secure a foothold. Nice spot to have it. And then I deployed 2 along the road between Quatre Bras and the main road down here. I think this is called the Roman Road, I think. I don't know. Now they're in a forward position and they might get smacked next turn, but I think it's a good thing just to slow down the British. In response, Blucher deployed a detachment here to protect Ziethen's flank, and then Wellington deployed the King's German Legion here, really to clog up this Roman road. We might see some combat this turn. I think it's kind of doubtful whether or not we see it, mostly because the French only have 5 moves. If they do get an attack, and they probably want to attack Ziethen, maybe get a lucky result against him, maybe blow him, or luckily if they can eliminate him. The problem is he's going to be a +3 because Blucher has 1 star and Ziethen has 1, and he's in a town. The KGL would also be a good unit to attack, and also, I think, if anything, the French are definitely going to attack here, and if they can attack the KGL. I think they're probably going to avoid Ziethen because it would cost them too many moves to get up there and actually force a battle that would be favorable to them. As a side note, the King's German Legion is by far my favorite unit from the Napoleonic era. Now, look, Mark, I'm not advocating that the Anglo-Allies need any more stars than they have, but I mean, I think they deserved a star, personally. That's just me. They're just awesome. Sorry. Got to nerd out about something in a game. So, we're probably going to try to move the elite French units on. I think by rule, we have to move D'Erlon on. Or maybe that doesn't apply to this first turn. Either way, we got to move Girard. We got to move the Guard. I forgot to flip these guys to their not exhausted sides. Got to get those stars. We're going to try to get up as far as we can. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so I'm in the middle of turn 2, and, well, I have a question. I don't know if Mark's answered this on the forums. I looked, I couldn't see it. Let's take 3rd Corps here. It deploys here at however the hell you pronounce that place. Blucher is here. He has a range. His range is 3, so it's roughly that area. Now, in all practical purposes, the fastest way for Third Corps to get there would be to go up along this main road. Now, he has to move closer with every move, right? He has to move closer with every move. Now, technically, since his range extends, I'm not going to do all the math. His range basically extends to this row. The Third Corps going up north like this is moving away from his range. Okay? But if the Third Corps moves south like this, then they're moving towards his range, and they always have to move closer. So I think this is a disadvantage of deploying Blucher in battle formation like this. If he was in normal formation, then it would extend 8 hexes up, and then I think he could come down. So I think that's one of the subtleties Mark was talking about in this game of like when you place things. Because now Third Corps has to take this roundabout route to get there. I mean, Second Corps and Gneisenau, the Cav, can still go along the main road, but the Third Corps is going to have some trouble. So I think that's subtlety. Also, midway through the turn, the Guard Cav is moving up to attack the King's German Legion. Von Damme advanced and the Guard advanced. I have 2 moves left with the French and 3 moves left with the Prussians. Okay, this is at the end of the movement. The 4th Corps and Girard have moved up to attack this detachment. I believe because Darlan was off map, I think I have to spend the last movement for the French to advance him, granted 1 hex, onto the map, which stinks because the road is blocked. Actually, because the road is blocked, I can just go around 1, 2, 3, 4, and at least he's across the bridge now. I still have Lebau and Rial way behind, and I still have Grouchy way behind. But I used my 4 moves up here to really push ahead with some elite French troops. We're gonna have 2 combats. There's nothing really the Allies can do about it, because no matter what, the French attack first, and then the Allies will decline to attack, and then the French will get a minimum 1 attack. So let's see how that goes. All right, so here's what happened. The Guard had a +5. 2 for the Stars, 1 for the 4th Corps, 1 for the Cavalry attacking. The Cavalry was not supporting. That's why they're not exhausted. I didn't want to exhaust them. So that's +4, and attacking a detachment is another +2. The detachment was in a town, so it's a net +5. French rolled a 2. The Allies rolled a 6, so the detachment got off with a blown result. Didn't really destroy them. Detachments, by the way, for those of you who don't know, here's the combat results table. Detachments basically just, whenever they take a hit, they take the next one down, except for stalemate. So if a detachment's at retreat, they're blown. If they're blown, they're eliminated, essentially. I decided not to attack the King's German Legion. 1, because they're super intimidating. I mean, they're so awesome. Look at the King's German Legion. 2, because it probably won't end well. The Guard Cav does not get its stars into the fight, meaning that it would be probably a +1 allied roll for this one. That meaning that the French Guard Cav would be going in there with a +2 for attacking a detachment, but the KGL would get a +1 for the hamlet, the town, and +2 for Wellington. So it would be net +1 for the Allies. So that's not really a fight that I want to get into. And one thing about the French in this game is you really need to choose your attacks wisely. All right, let's place down the HQs and detachments, and we'll discuss strategy for the next turn. Okay, so we're now at the beginning of the movement phase. Actually, technically, look at me, already messing up. I have to flip those guys to March. We're at the beginning of the movement phase of the 3rd term. Now, something that I read that I think is really important. And again, I don't really know how this is going to turn out, but every time I played this game before, the Anglo-Allies had wrecked the French army. And when I was reading Mark's strategy article, he said, look, the French lose this battle historically, and you're probably going to lose it if you try to fight it historically. And I think that even though I was trying to kind of avoid the Anglo-Allied army at one point, I still think I was basically trying to fight it historically, which is not wise. So what have I done to change that? Well, I've deployed Napoleon very far up, far ahead, and I've put Grouchy all the way down here and Ney all the way over there. And I was able to put a detachment in Nivelle, the Guard cavalry. So hopefully they're hold. I mean, they're not, by game purposes, they're the same, but hopefully they're hold. And really what I'm trying to do with this is I forced Wellington out of his battle stance. And how do I do that? Let's say Wellington did, in fact, place himself in his battle stance. And anywhere within these 3 hexes of Perponcher, of course not in his zone of control. Think about how much that limits the British. I mean, I'm threatening, at least with Van Damme, and I have 4 corps back here, 3 corps here. I'm threatening to shoot straight up there and isolate those 2 corps. They're not going to get within range of Wellington's battle HQ. That's why it's important to dictate the momentum. And even though I would love to set Wellington as battle HQ, which I had done in every other past game because I was able to fight down here, and as the French, I didn't really exploit anything, either going towards the Prussians or towards the British. Here I have 2 great forward detachments, and I have another detachment up there. I probably should have recalled those guys, or at least one of them, but I didn't want the British... Oh, no, detachment comes next. Either way, I like them there. I have 1 detachment to place. I have good old Pajot, who was over there. So right now, I'm clearly, just with my deployment, I'm clearly not going for the Prussians. I'm going after the big cat. I'm going after these guys, the people who... Oh, he's supposed to be on his response side. The people who I have thought, and I really did think about this, I thought about writing an article saying I really think that the Anglo-Allies are overpowered, but let's see how it goes. I mean, preferably, I want to isolate those guys and isolate those guys up there. Let's see. And the big thing is I'm going to point out when I pass. I'm going to record another clip to when I pass. I'm going to take a lot of thought, all the thought that I can put into when I pass. Ney is actually being very useful here because his 4 hexes extend just to here. So if I really want to swing around that way, I can. I thought about as Wellington to put a guy here and maybe do his zone of control there. I ended up putting a guy there because he's not in he's in a town. I think it's a better position. But I think for the Anglo-Allies, at least, it looks like it's going to be concentrating around here. Blucher is also not deployed in battle formation. He's deployed in basically maneuver formation. His 8 hexes go far enough to here so he can threaten this area. Again, if I had put him in battle formation, he's not a threat. But right now he's a threat because he's in maneuver formation. So I think I'm starting to learn the subtleties of this game. I knew Mark Herman didn't let me down. Okay, a lot of maneuvering later. This is not the final position before combat, but I believe this is where the French are going to decide to pass. They currently have 2 combats that they would like to take, one of which would be against Perponcher here, and the other one would be against who the heck is that? Frederick and his Brunswick troops there. Van Damme, the Guard cavalry, I guess thematically, held off the First Corps until Van Damme arrived. And again, with Wellington not in his battle formation, that might not be a fight that Orange wants to take. It'll be an even roll. That could go disastrously for both sides, granted, but you never know. I am actually relatively proud of my placement of Grouchy, because his zone of influence extends, I mean... Granted, Orange, if he really wants to, could still get down to Quatre Bras, but it isolates the Reserve Corps, basically, and separated them from the rest of the British Army. And I don't know how many moves the British are or the Allies are going to get yet, but we'll see. I have a lot of infantry corps still in the back. I did get everyone up from the all the way in the back. But the one thing that this cost me, this focus on maneuver, is it gave the Prussians a lot of time to consolidate. Bülow is on the front lines, Zieten advanced, and we have Perch, Third Corps, and Gneisenau in a pretty good position to strike. Granted, the thing about the Prussians is They're not that good at attacking. They're not that really offensively capable, at least in this game. That's how it's modeled. Really, they kind of have to concentrate in one area, and wherever they attack, we'll see how the results go. I still have 3 infantry corps in reserve to deal with them, and the bulk of my army, including both cavalry corps, up there. I'm probably going to withdraw that detachment next turn, and we'll see. But first, I'll roll this one live. How many moves do the allies get? So, he's in his zone of influence. He's in his zone of influence. He is not in his zone of influence. So that's 1, 2, 3. They get a +3 modifier. Let's see how it is. Oh! Devastating for the allies. They have 4 moves left. Look at that. Oh, I was already on 4. That's useful. I'm in an apartment in New York City, so that's why my space is quite limited. Yes, that's my TV. But we'll see. We'll see how this goes. All right, this is the situation after the 4 allied moves. The allies, one of their guaranteed moves was to move Hill's corps in to help the Brunswickers in Waterloo, or however the heck you pronounce that. Darylon would have plowed over them the first move if they didn't do that, so that was an important move. I thought about moving the reserve corps down to help out Quatre Bras. Maybe I should have. It would have taken me 2 moves. I could have gone 1, 2, 3, stop, and then 4 to go in. I opted instead to maneuver the Prussians. I decided to leave Perponcher to his fate. I maneuvered Perch into this town. That's probably not a fight he wants to take, but that's probably not a fight Girard wants to take either. It'll be an even roll. And then so that cost me 2 moves. And the last move, I move this Prussian corps to here. Really, I'm putting... what I wanted to do is I wanted to put the Prussians in a threatening positions. I think that I could have moved the reserve corps down to Quatre Bras. That's true. It would have been a total of a +3 result for the Brits. I think it would have netted a +1 for the French, which, to be frank, is an attack I definitely would have taken. A +1 roll against an Anglo-Allied force, at least in my experience, is fantastic. I don't think the French are going to attack here, but I also don't... Hill might attack. He has a +1 on the French, but I don't think he's going to attack. And then this one, if Orange decides to attack, it's going to be an even roll. So we have a lot of odd combats. This one is the one that's clear cut. The Guard will defeat Perponcher and most likely destroy him. Hopefully. Well, at least for the French, hopefully. As long as it's not the King's German Legion. Those boys are still safe and sound. Okay, so as it turned out, the Dutch under Perponcher, they fought valiantly. I'm not even on the right spot. They held out for a turn. It was actually the reason why the Guard Cav is not exhausted is because I didn't commit them. I didn't want to take the plus from them because I didn't want them to be exhausted because they're in a zone of influence and they wouldn't be fresh for next turn. And next turn's when I need them, not fighting the Dutch under Perponcher. But the first roll didn't go so well. The Allies decided to not attack anywhere and to immediately pass. Now, I could have taken this attack against Darylon. It would have been a +1 attack. That is not the attack that I want to take. It's just, it's not viable to me. I don't think it's worth it. I mean, I could, like, a +1, yeah, I could get a blown. I mean, I could get a blown. But, I mean, is it really worth that shot? I don't think it is. Meanwhile, we have good old the Prince of Orange up there. He decided not to attack on an even roll. And then down here, the Prussians didn't attack on an even roll. So that's the situation. It was only 2 combats. The French had 2 attacks remaining, but they decided to not do it because everywhere that would have been even. That would have been a negative. That would have been a negative. But right now they're in a pretty interesting position because they've isolated 2 Anglo-Allied corps over there. They have one Anglo-Allied corps here, a pretty strong position, and they have a pretty decent line here. The biggest problem is now the Prussian 4th Corps is occupying this road, so the French can't just shoot up. But there's a bigger problem, that being that the Prussians are threatening the supply lines of the French. And the French, that's worth 5 victory points to them. They need this. They need to have this. They need to have a road that goes from here to any one of those 3 up there. It's Halle, Waterloo, and Wavre. That's all they need to do. They need to somehow, some way, finagle it to the point where they have that connection. And the best way to stop the Prussians from messing with that is to leave a detachment down here, but also leave these corps down here to deal with the Prussians, which I think is what I'm going to do. The Prussians will have to make a decision whether to commit down here or to commit up there. I really don't think they can do both. Oh, I mean, they did historically. They committed a couple corps up here, but their best corps are in the south. All right, we'll look at HQ placements and then come back to it. Okay. I think I'm finally starting to get this game, and it for the French player, it's seemingly impossible if you're fighting the British head on. So the trick is to not fight the British head on. Specifically, do not allow Wellington to deploy into battle formation. So take this for example. I don't have Wellington in battle formation. Why? Wellington is not in battle formation because if I put him in battle formation, that either dooms the reserve corps, most likely dooms. I say dooms, but blown is a terrible result right now for the Allies. It dooms the reserve corps, or it dooms possibly both or just one of those corps. Granted, it would take the French some time to shift up that way, but then they couldn't really maneuver these corps. And you could say, well, they're not going to be able to maneuver anyway. They're next to enemy units. That's true, but I don't want to put myself in a position where I can't maneuver, because that's bad. Napoleon is in a maneuver position. I maybe should have deployed him further up, but I wanted to give him more breath, mostly because Ney is in battle mode, particularly just to help the Vendôme out. Grouchy is down here, the right wing. Kind of have like a fishhook going here, except it's way more spread out. He wanted to specifically deploy Peugeot. I'm definitely pronouncing those all wrong. He wanted to deploy him here so we can get a Zachbond. Oh, not Zachbond. That's a different game. To get a zone of control here. This way, Blucher couldn't do any of his nefarious tricks. Blucher is deployed pretty forward, again in battle mode. He could have deployed in maneuver mode. He could have deployed in battle mode up here and probably have caught the Guard cavalry in an attack. But he wouldn't have caught the Guard, because if he deployed in battle mode, then the Guard would have just ran away, frankly. So it's interesting. A lot of this game is not like your traditional war game, in that in a traditional war game, it's about, okay, I'm going to move all of my units and then we're going to fight, right? That's what we're going to do naturally. That's not really what I find in this game. I find that in this game, a lot of it is maneuver, and while in theory you could have like this infinite number of attacks, I know the number isn't. Technically, it could be infinite if you keep rolling stalemates and nobody passes, I guess, in theory. Why anyone would ever... Why that... Anyway. But this game is more about, okay, as the French, I want to divide... Either I want to divide the Allies from the Anglo-Allies from the Prussians, or if I'm going after the Anglo-Allies, I can't allow them to actually consolidate. And the same thing for the Prussians. I want to hit isolated corps. I don't want to hit corps when they're consolidated. And right now, this is the situation. In order to protect Wellington's flank, I did put a detachment all the way up there in Halle. Now they have one detachment on the map and one eliminated detachment, which means Hill still gets his 2-star rating. But if they place another detachment on the board, that's it. Hill's down to 1 star. And that guy up there in Halle really needs to stay there for the whole game, because if he doesn't, I mean, the French are probably going to be able to trace a road to there. somehow, some way. I believe that's how it works. I don't think the French technically need anybody there. They just need to be able to trace a road, which is interesting. They don't technically have to take the city, but I mean, it forces, again, if this mechanic forces Wellington to deploy. Okay, so what's the plan? Well, I don't really know. I do think that Darylon is going to retreat. I haven't done the retreat step yet. He's going to retreat, move 3 hexes that way. That puts Hill in a pretty crappy position. He only has 1 point to maneuver. It also puts Darylon in a crappy position, but at least it gets him away from there. I might also leave Darylon there. And if I leave Vendôme there too, that locks down 2 Anglo-Allied corps that can't move. Come to think of it, I think that's what I'm going to do. Darylon and Vendôme are going to hold. Vendôme is in an excellent position. The first corps is not going to attack Vendôme. He has 1 star from Ney. He has 1 from the town and 1 star. He's actually oh my God, I played a French unit with positives. Again, that's because Wellington's not on his battle side. But if Wellington was on his battle side, I would just withdraw because I don't want to fight that action. And then I would basically force it so Wellington cannot. I'm not going to fight Wellington on ground of his choosing. That's just not what I'm going to do. So what am I going to try to do? I think the big thing is going to be to try to hit the Reserve Corps and try to kill it. The problem is right now the Prussians. The problem is the Prussians. They have the Guard cavalry in a position where they could lock it into a zone of control. And really, they can do whichever one they want. They can either lock the Guard into a zone of control or the Guard cavalry. So I have a choice who I want to bring up. Further south, Grouchy is a little separated. I feel like Grouchy wants to take at least one of these corps and at least try to engage the Prussians in a position where they have to stop and not maneuver. I can't allow a Prussian unit to get south. Granted, that's a little far away, and this clip's running really long. But yeah, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this game, I think, and I'm starting to really, not that I wasn't enjoying it before, but the more you play a game, obviously, the more you enjoy it. Okay, a super interesting turn of events. So it may have been a mistake, but what I did was I thought one of the first moves was to deploy the Guard up to here to threaten Wellington. Of course, they had to stop in their zone of influence. Of course, not of course, but the Wellington countered by bringing the cavalry down from the Brussels area, or Waterloo, whatever. And at that point, I decided to pivot the Guard because the Prussians did respond by moving 3rd Corps next to lock down the Guard cav. I then decided to pivot the Guard to surround the Prussian 3rd Corps, almost enveloping that. Interestingly, we're now in a position where there's 1 unit, 2 technically, 2 Anglo-Allied units that are not in a zone of control. So it's going to be them passing first. Girard retreated from the 2nd Corps. He was here. He moved into that town because, town. Zieten moved down to threaten, forced the French to pull off the 6th Corps. Zieten can't go any further because that's the extent of Blucher's command radius. And if he wants to commit to that, he has to not commit to what's happening up here. And what's happening up here could decide the game. Conversely, the Wellington has maneuvered to threaten the... Wellington has maneuvered to now threaten the... French, specifically the reserve cavalry. What am I doing to counter this? Well, I brought the 2nd Corps. The 2nd Corps was initially here, and then I pulled it all the way up here. This is before it was in a zone of control. I deployed it to here, and then because I was maneuvering, before I maneuvered the Guard around, I moved the 2nd Corps here to then protect Vendôme, because at this point, Oxbridge had already locked up Grouchy to prevent Vendôme from the reserve corps swinging around and hitting Vendôme. Now, would that have been really practical? I mean, he would have had gone through a lot of zones of influences, but if you get a high enough roll, yeah, Wellington, the Reserve Corps could have done it. And killing Vendôme would have been very bad. And I like Vendôme where he is. So right now, the the cavalry corps is at risk, the reserve cavalry. But I think how I'm going to mitigate this is I'm going to send Rial here, and Rial, as the first attack of the game, is going to hit Oxbridge. Hopefully at least pushing him back, and that will put the reserve corps in a position where it only has a +2 attack versus the attack that it's likely to get, which is going to be something like a +3 or a +4. And then naturally the guard is going to advance. Let's see how many... the moves I don't think really matters for this case. I don't think I have any modifier. Oh, no, Girard is not in a zone of influence, so +1. Oh, big one. When the French need to go big, when the French don't need to go big, they go big. So Second Corps will advance to there. Now I have 6 moves left. Where do I want to put Girard? I could also... I mean, I could, in theory, move to attack Zieten. I could move to... Perch is in a town. Perch is in a town. This is super interesting because I can put... With those moves... Well, that's... You've done it again, Mark. Where do I want to put the 4th Corps? I could maneuver the 4th Corps there, where Blucher is, and attack Bulow. Or at least threaten Bulow. I think that's what I'm going to do. Because right now, the way this plan was evolving, which is not at all what I thought I was going to be doing, I'm isolating, just trying to destroy the Prussians. If I try to destroy the Prussians, I should be able to easily get a road network connection to Wavre. But we'll see. So, first thing, let's send... So, I have 6 moves. So, 1, 2, 3, and 4 moves. And he's locked. Oh, sorry. Bulow. All right, I have 2 moves left. What do I want to do? I think I want to engage Zieten just to lock him into a zone of control. He's not in a town, but I want to engage him. So there we go. And that's it. Everyone is locked up. Wow. This is a very different game than anything I played before. I'm really glad I read that strategy article that Mark Herman posted because I'm really starting to get a feel of it. I mean, right now, the French, there's 3 detachments eliminated for the Allies. So right now, the French are technically, quote unquote, winning. And in theory, well, I don't think they probably can trace a road somewhere. If we really finagle it, they could go out here and go all the way around, I guess, to get those 5 victory points. I think that's how that works. I have to look up that rule. But yeah, we got a good number of combats coming, that's for sure. All right, I figured I'd do this one live because, well, this could be a deciding combat. No, he is not exhausted. He is fresh. I tried recording this before and my alarm went off for something and, well, that just ruined everything. All right, so terrain, nothing. Battle stars for the French, nothing. The defender adds battle star and the Brits are going to have a +1. All right, the Cavalry Corps do not get stars, but they still can add +1 for supporting an attack. First Cavalry Corps may flip to its exhausted side to add some stars, knocking everything around in my infinite clumsiness. So the French are at a +1. Now, defending if a fresh Cavalry Corps is supporting the attack. I already did that one. No, attack support. I think this Cavalry Corps adds another +1 because they're a corps and they're adjacent. And it's a separate thing, so another +1. And then I think if this is how the rule, I'm reading it as written. I add 1 for each Cavalry Corps that is adjacent to the attacking corps, whether or not they're in the defender's Zoc. They can be either fresh or exhausted. So that's another +1 to +3, which is a net +2 modifier for the French. Okay, this is a big one. If we can force Oxbridge back, it will likely force Wellington and the Reserve Corps to not... Well, they might still attack, but it won't be as devastating, hopefully. Let's see. +2 for the blue. Oh! And Oxbridge gets obliterated, and that's an entire corps gone. That's devastating. Second Corps under Rial, well, it has to advance, And now I must pause for the Anglos' next attack, and maybe I'll come back to that. Wow, that was exciting. For the Allied attack, those guys are stuck. They're not going anywhere, so The Reserve Corps can probably attack whenever it wants, or really... Actually, if the Reserve Corps hits Grouchy now, they'll be +2 over nothing. But if they wait, then Real could hit them, and that's actually a better modifier for the French at only a +1. But I think this is what the Allies are going to do. The Third Corps is going to attack the Guard Cavalry. And the reason they're going to attack the Guard Cavalry is so, 1, they exhaust it, and 2, to potentially get them out of this thing that they're in with the Guard on each side. And if they can force the Guard Cavalry to retreat, then they're a good spot. Alternatively, this could be suicide for them. However, it also could go well. Alternatively, I could attack with the cavalry. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to attack with the cavalry because if the cavalry is forced to retreat, it doesn't kill them. At least doesn't cause them to be blown. So, I think the Allies are only going to receive a +1 for this attack because they have one a friendly corps adjacent, and that's it. And the French get a +2, but it will exhaust the Cav. It will also exhaust Gneisenau. So, this is not the most advantageous roll for the Prussians, but if not, he is dead, most likely. So it's net +1 for the French. Oh, forces them to retreat. And they go back 3. They'll go towards Napoleon. 1, 2, 3. Not the worst result for the French, but a good result for the Prussians. The cavalry corps must advance. Okay. The French are going to really risk it for the biscuit here. Well, not necessarily risking for the biscuit, but they get a +1 because the cavalry corps is adjacent. So a corps is adjacent, but they also get another +1 because it's a cavalry corps that's adjacent to the attack. Riel is going to go after Wellington in the reserve, and the Brits are just stuck with a +2, so I think this is an even roll. I mean, I could be doing this wrong, but I think that you double up on cavalry corps because you get +1 for each friendly corps, and then you get cavalry support bonus. I mean, it is supposed to be a special unit. It is cavalry. So it's going to be an even roll. Now, again, Wellington could have attacked Grouchy, but they decided that sequencing is important. They decided to save the Prussian Third Corps. Imagine if this attack goes well for the French, and their whole plan was to crush the Prussians, and they end up winning in the spot where they didn't expect to win. Where they were confident, oh, we're kind of screwed up there. All right, even roll. Real versus the Reserve Corps. Oh, boy. Oh, that is a blown result. That was not as bad for Real as it could have been because he could have been killed. That was 1 away from dead. As you can see, a +4 is a blown, or +5 is eliminated. So they come back next turn. Okay. Ooh. Now it's the Allies' turn. I think I'm just going to record these as we go. I mean, the Reserve Corps has to hit Grouchy. I mean, it's a +2 attack. I'm going to take it. +2 for the Reserve Corps and Wellington. Ooh, barely a blown, but it's a blown, and Grouchy goes to there. That's not good, and he advances. All right, now here's a big problem. If the French decide to attack and they do not succeed and another unit gets blown, one of their units is going to be eliminated, and it's going to be the Allied choice. And the one that they're probably going to want to attack with is the Guard. And if the Guard gets blown, that's very, 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 very bad. But +2, I'm going to take it. The Guard going in for Thielmann. Let's go. Come on. This is the French Guard. It's just going to be flat. Well, not flat. It's going to be a +2. No, nothing super. Actually, no. It's going to be a +1 because Gneisenau's. Oh, with the +1, that's different. Oh, but I don't really like them there. This isn't good. Oh, now you have my real-time thoughts. I don't know. A +1. The die roll could really swing this game. If I get a blown result, they're like practically screwed. Well, we're going to risk it. I'm not confident in this, but we're going to risk it. So, +1 for the Guard. Oh! +1 for the guard. He must retreat. 1, 2, and 3. I believe that's how he has to go, because he has to get away from him and he has to some way go towards his HQ. The guard will advance, and the guard is going to attack Gneisenau at a +2, and now it's back to the allies. So Bulau is going to attack Puree, or Pure, I don't know how to say it, whatever. Bulau is 1 for his star, and 2 because he's attacking a detachment. He's going to be net +2 because the town gives him 1. So net +2 for the red. Oh, that is 1 dead detachment. Now, he cannot advance, however, because he is in Girard's zone of control. Now the guard's going to attack with a +2. Come on, guard. Oh, and Gneisenau is done. Wow. Oh, he has to advance. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm having fun. So the Prussian army loses a corps. The Anglo-Allied army loses a corps. In fact, both of the cavalry corps are out. Wow, look at that. However, Wellington is now, the Reserve Corps might be in a position now to link up with the rest of their army, but without their cavalry, that's very bad. Of course, I'm saying all this, I could attack more. I do not believe there's going to be any more attacks. Down here with Zieten, a +1 against Libau, that's not worth it. That is just simply not worth it for the Prussians. Even if they push him back, it'll be nice, but I mean, getting a blown result on Zieten is very, very bad at this point in the game. The French lucked out. They got 2 blown corps, one of which was a very valuable cavalry corps, but they're both blown. They're not dead yet. Next turn, we have possibility of rain. Let's roll that right now. Why not? We'll use the blue die because, water and blue. 1 to 4, it rains. And it's going to rain. That means there will be next turn, all the attacks are going to have a -1, and also significant effects with the road movement that I have to look up. I'll be honest, in my earlier battles, rain didn't even come up. I mean it. The Anglo-Allied army smashed the French that easily. But right now, we are in a super tense battle. I hope you're enjoying this for the 10 people out there who might watch this. Okay, so I went through an internal monologue in my head, and I thought maybe a lot of people will be saying to me, but Mike, if you had just deployed Wellington in his battle formation, none of this would have happened, and the Anglo-Allies would have rolled over the French. Now, that's true if I don't retreat with the French. And that's exactly what I would do. Now, of course, I know that going ahead of time, but I had Wellington, for the longest time on his 2-star. Sadly, Wellington is 1 hex away. Oh, no, he could have been placed here, I guess. So he could have gotten both of those. And that means he would be in his battle side. But I still think this is the better call. Because let's say hypothetically, I put him on his 2-star rating. Now he has 2 corps and a 2-star rating range. Oh my God, the French are screwed. And I wouldn't have placed the old guard there if that was the case, by the way. Oh, by the way, the old guard has been deployed. Everybody watch out. Anyway, let's say that happened. Vandamme would have retreated 3. D'Arlan would have retreated 3. My first moves would have been to get Vandamme and D'Arlan at minimum 5 hexes away from Wellington. That's all I would have done. Now, Wellington's entire army is stuck there. Now, granted, at that point, Wellington's entire army at least would be consolidated. So that's something. So maybe I should have done that for playing the long game. Okay, that's what we're going to do. But I feel that it is necessary for the Reserve Corps to maneuver. Whether that's to maneuver south or whether that's to maneuver to help and destroy Vandamme. Now, you might be thinking, well, you kind of you screwed yourself over because you can't maneuver to help you can't now if you maneuver to fight Vandamme, then you'll have 1 less star. Well, if I fight Vandamme, I'm probably gonna win anyway because I have probably gonna win anyway with Napoleon on his battle side is pushing it. and Van Damme in there. But anyway, that's what I did, and I'm sticking to it. I have my reasons, and I really feel like, well, I don't feel like, I know that if Wellington was deployed on his battle side, the French would have retreated. I had the same quandary with Blucher. I could have put him on his battle side, and I thought about putting him on his battle side, but I know Girard just would have fallen back. Now, Bulow's in a pretty crappy position because the Guard's probably first move will be to move down south here. I could actually retreat with him. That's probably the best thing to do. I have to look at the retreat rules, and I'm probably going to retreat with Bulow, because he's in a very bad position, and I'm most likely, odds are, I'm going to end up retreating with him. But if I deployed Blucher on his battle side, then Zieten down here is completely abandoned, and he's just going to be stuck there. As of right now, I have Grouchy in his fighting posture. So right now we're even, so I'm holding. That's all I need to do is hold. Meanwhile, this looks like this is going to be the. Not only does this look like this is where the serious action is going to be, it's the only spot where people can actually move. This is the turn for the Allies to do something because the French have 2 blown corps. This is it. I mean, if the French get those 2 corps back before the Allies can do something, then the French will maintain their numerical superiority. And it's not like those 2 corps stink. I mean, you have Rial, who's not the best corps, but then you have Grouchy's reserve cavalry. And that reserve cavalry is super, super good, as we have seen. Okay, so this is what happened. This is the French are about to pass, and then we'll roll a die live to see just how many moves the Allies get. So, Ney, at the long end of his range, got Girard to attack Thielmann on the 3rd Corps, and he's got the Guard Cav in there to support. The Guard moved up to screen off Wellington and the Reserve Corps. Now, what happened with the Reserve Corps was interesting because I had the Reserve Corps was here, and I moved the Guard here. My intention was to then lock the Reserve Corps in place, swing around with my Cav Corps, and defeat it in detail. That didn't happen because I ran away with the Reserve Corps because I'm like, I'm not fighting that battle. I think I've realized a mistake I've been making with the Anglo-Allied. I've been sitting here with these units, and granted, I am tying down 2 good French corps. But I'm also tying down 50% of my army. So I think I have to retreat with them next turn, both Orange and Hill. First of all, Hill's going to have to be reduced to 1 star because I have to deploy detachments to protect Wavre and Waterloo. In some way, shape, or form, they can reach Wavre, and there's no way Blucher can do it. I guess he could. 16 hexes. I would have to deploy him over here, though, which isn't, I don't know, isn't that useful. Perch in the 2nd Corps went down to eliminate a detachment, which is really wanted to slow down the potential swing again to cut that. But, yeah. And we have Girard and the Guard Cav gonna go in on Thielmann. I think I already mentioned that. But let's roll the die to see how many moves. So the Anglo-Allies have, because all the Prussians are locked, there's only 1 unit plus 1 result. Let's see what they get. They got a 6. Wow. 7 moves. They can basically put them wherever the heck they want. Okay. So attacking Van Damme here would be an even roll. Wow. Just even. Same thing with attacking the Old Guard with its +2. It'd just be even. Actually, no. Attacking the Old Guard would be a negative because the Old Guard are no, it would be even. It would be even. Either way, I cut it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to maneuver the Reserve Corps. But the problem is that opens up the road. That just opens up the road. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to move the Reserve Corps into a position where it can attack Van Damme. And I'm going to launch an even odds attack. And is that a good attack to launch? No, no, it is not. But specifically, the Anglo-Allied First Corps has been sitting there for too long and not accomplishing much, which may have been my mistake. I mean, granted, I don't think I've played poorly, and well, I probably have. Who knows? I think I've been playing pretty competently, at least with the French. I think I could have played better with the Anglo-Allies, maybe retreated from there earlier. But then again, if I retreat from there, then Vendôme and D'Erlon are open for maneuver. So those are two good units, at least for the French. All right, so I have 7 moves, so he can definitely make it to here. Actually, I would prefer him there. Yeah, I'd prefer him there. I just think that's a better spot. Okay. Come back soon with combats. The French get to attack first, and it's pretty obvious where their attack's going to come from, and it's going to be down here. I mean, there is a question of using Vendôme to attack the Reserve Corps. That would be an even odds attack. I would have +1 for Napoleon and +1 for Vendôme. But I would prefer that they attack me. I just think that's better. Vendôme would have a +1, 2, 3, and then they'd have a 3. That's probably the way to go. The Guard isn't involved in this, but the Guard Cav is. And this is the attack I want to get off. Before Bülow can attack Girard, again, I'm probably mispronouncing everything, I want Girard to attack Thielmann. So, the +1 for Girard. And he's not in a town, and this is the big thing. +2 more stars for the Guard Cav. Is it up to a +3? The Guard Cav is a unit adjacent to it. Again, that's another +1. And then another +1 because a cavalry corps is adjacent, brings it up to a +5. Versus the Prussian whopping +0. That's right, +0. All right, so +5 roll. This could be very bad, and by could be, I mean most likely will be very bad for the Prussians. Oh, wow. So that is a +5 for the French, and they will force them back. 1, 2, and 3. They have to at all times move 1 space away from him. He cannot advance, so he will stand. Oh, that means they're still exhausted, too. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, going up to here. I think actually the Allies will attack here. It's going to be a net +1 for Perch. That's it. Wow, these Prussian corps, man. They're not the best in the biz. Net +1, though, is a retreat, which is a blown result, not eliminated. And he comes back in the AM of the next turn. And he must advance. So he will. Again, that's threatening Lubao and the 6th Corps. That's a problem for the, that's actually a significant problem for the French, because now he is in a very precarious position. He had his flank secure, now he doesn't. That was a pretty important result for the Prussians and the Allies. Okay. French get in another attack. I don't think the French are going to attack. They could attack down here at an even roll, not really worth it. They could attack here. It would actually be a negative roll because the Prussians have occupied that town, so not worth it. And like I said, I think I'd rather, alternatively, if I hit them now, no, I want to force them, no, I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold. No matter what, I want to hold. All right, so I'm going to pass. The Allies get how many attacks? 4. So here's 1. Wellington and the reserve, no, the Duke, not the Duke, the Prince of Orange is going to attack. He gets +2 for his stars and +1 for Reserve Corps helping him. And the French also get a +3, so it's an even roll. Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, Vendôme! The orange is blown. Oh, that's very bad. Oh, that's very, very bad. Oh, no. Oh, no. Because the worst part about that is the Reserve Corps is still in a zone of control, so it's locked. And the Guard is there, and the Guard could swing around and hit the Reserve Corps. That's very bad. the biggest so Hill has to retreat to march to support of the Reserve Corps. I might have to retreat with the Reserve Corps as well, and just pull back to Waterloo. And then another big problem but the big problem with the French right now is the Prussians are maneuvering down here to the south, and the Prussians' Third Corps has been surviving. It's been pounded at +5 modifier, and it lived. That's nuts. All right. Thwarted. I just realized I made my first rules mistake. However, I do not think it affected the outcome. Although, well, that's not true. It definitely did. On a turn where it rains, if a unit moves off-road, it immediately flips to its battle side. Meaning, I mean, he still could have gotten there without... So, and I think with 7 moves, the Reserve Corps probably could have gotten to where it was. So I don't think that me messing up that rule really affected anything necessarily. I don't think. It's my mistake, whatever. But I think the overall course of the battle would have ended the same. Now, it is the turn after it rains, so we do have a -1, and the French rolled a 6, so it will not be raining next turn, meaning we got nice ground for next turn. Now, you'll notice that the British retreated. Hill only has 1 star, as Frederick and the Brunswickers have been deployed to Waterloo, and you'll notice there's Guard Cavalry in Mount St. John. I put Wellington on his battle side, and I'm basically trying to ward off any French. Like, don't come near us. That's basically why he's there like that. And I'm telling you right now, as the French player, okay, go ahead. I really don't care. I'm not going to come near you. Now, there is a significant problem for the British. That mostly being because he was placed there, Wavre is still open, and next turn, presumably, I say presumably, oh, yes, there's 1 French detachment that's going to be come back from Boulogne. It can be placed in Wavre and almost, not almost, but for, there's a good chance that can secure the French 5 victory points. Currently, if we look at the victory point count, we have these 2 negate each other, but we have a net total of 8 for the French. Wow, 8 victory points for the French. The Allies got to get their act together, and they got to do something quick. They got to kill some French units. That's the big thing. They got to eliminate some corps. And really, frankly, and I mean, you can say whatever you want. Maybe I didn't play well enough, and trust me, I was in the boat too. I was in the Anglo-Allies are overpowered boat until I read that article and I applied some of the stuff he said. And really, I mean, not only has this been a super exciting game, but I don't think I played that poorly with the Anglo-Allies. And like that attack where Rial destroyed Oxbridge's cavalry corps, that was not an attack that had to go that way. It was only a +2. That destroyed result was huge. I mean, then again, think about it. The Reserve Corps counterattacked and blew both of those corps. Speaking of those blown corps, they've changed the whole dynamic, and I forgot about them. Grouchy, I've decided to put next to Ney. I was originally going to like mop up the Anglo-Allies, but then I realized, oh well, they're retreating, and I don't want to fight Wellington like that. So instead I can deploy Grouchy against the Prussians. The Prussians are in a rather precarious situation because now the Second Corps has reformed next to, ironically, Grouchy. Oh my God, he's in the same spot. Inception. And now the Prussians have a problem because now they have 2 corps down here when originally there was only 1 French corps. Grouchy is again deployed in battle formation. His job, Napoleon has told him, if you don't hold Charleroi, you're going to be shot. And I'll probably shoot the counter if he doesn't. No, I'm kidding. Maybe with a Nerf gun. But this situation, not very good for the Prussians. I mean, here's the thing, right? And I've been trying to say this, and I think this is essentially it right now. And I've been holding off deploying Wellington in battle formation really for this reason. And now that I've deployed him in battle formation, really I deployed him in battle formation to save
the Anglo-Allied army, because I don't think, if I didn't deploy them in battle formation, the Guard would have swung around and probably killed, or at this point, if the Corps was blown on this turn, it wouldn't eliminate them. But yeah. But I wanted to save the Anglo-Allied army. But that allows Napoleon now to swing down and hit the Prussians with the force of God, or the force of the Emperor, I guess. And the Prussians are not in a good position. Not in the slightest. What the Prussians have tried to do to mitigate this is they've deployed three detachments. So how do they deploy 3 detachments? Well, the 4th Corps deployed that detachment, the 3rd Corps deployed that detachment, and the 2nd Corps deployed that detachment. Each Corps can deploy its own detachment, and an HQ can deploy 1 detachment. Unless I'm misreading the rules, which, I could be. I already made the mistake, that rain mistake. So, current stratagems. I know this... I'm going to put this all together, and it's probably going to be really long. But hey, I'm having fun, and the 10 people that watch this, they might have fun too. The French, they're at least going to try to lock down Perch, if not engage him. But really, the big thing with the French right now is we're going to move down here and try to defeat the Prussian army in detail. At the bare minimum, we want to destroy some detachments, and we want to kill a corps, preferably Bulow. That would be great. I realize now Zieten sitting down there, he's just doing nothing. Maybe I should have retreated with him, but I'm going to keep him there. See, that's the thing. Maybe I should have just pulled back. But that has, I don't know. Well, the Anglo-Allies, it has changed my mind. I don't think they're as overpowered as I thought they once were. Let's get back to it. This is the position on June 17th where the Allies have decided to pass. Most of the Allied corps are locked up. And granted, like, Rial could swing all the way around and surround Zieten. I tried to protect his northern flank, but I just realized his southern flank is unprotected. Although, granted, that would be quite the march to do that, considering the river situation. The French I rolled the wrong die, but the French rolled a 5, and they have 3 units outside, so they're going to get 8 moves, which is not good. I was really hoping to roll low. The Cav is definitely going to move to here, the Guard Cav, and get some nice attacks on these guys. Hopefully, that detachment's probably going to die, but that detachment will probably save Bulow from dying in turn, so there's that. So good on you, buddy. Meanwhile, I just realized, I could place, I need to get a detachment here, and I'm going to get one next turn. I could place Ney up here and go 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. That will probably give me that zone of control I need over Wavre. All right. Yeah, I know I didn't move any Anglo-Allied men, but, I mean, they moved 1. Where are they going to go? I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely see. And the next turn, I do get the first Anglo-Allied corps back, which will be huge. All right. All right, after the French moves, we move the 2nd Corps there. I know maybe I should put him in the town, but I like his zone of influence over here to stop Thielman from trying to do anything nefarious again with my supply lines. I want my 5 victory points. Van Damme and D'Erlon redeployed to Nivelles and whatever this place is. I'm not going to pronounce that. I don't even know why I'm pronouncing Nivelles, because that's probably mispronounced or definitely mispronounced. Try to form a more cohesive line. They're most likely going to just fall back because I think now it's pretty clear who our main target is. It's the Prussian army. The Prussian army is much weaker. Wellington is not in a position to support them, and he's definitely not in a position to support them in battle formation. So if they want to fight us, they're going to have to come and get us. All right, let's get into some combats. The French go first. The first French combat is going to be the Guard versus these guys. I'm not going to use Grouchy. because I do not want him to get exhausted. I want to save him for next turn. So 2 stars for the guard. 2 stars for the guard. The defending unit has nothing. The defending unit's going to get a +1 though for the town. Cavalry Corps can add its battle stars. No, I don't want to do that. The attacker adds +1 for each corps that's adjacent. So there's 2 corps adjacent. So that goes to probably past a 4. And then we're attacking a detachment. So that goes to a 6. The attacker receives +1 for each cavalry corps, not detachment adjacent. Whether they just have to be adjacent to, so I get another +1 for the guard cav. I realized I wasn't showing the situation. So it's going to be an end up +6 roll. This is not going to go well for them. And as expected, the detachment bites it. Of course, they did save Bulau, so there's that. And he'll advance. Now, Gerard could attack, and he would attack with a 1. He'd be a +3. 1 for his star, 1 for an adjacent unit, and another 1 for a... No, he's not adjacent to him, so he'd only be +2, and he'd be +2 as well. I almost want to attack purely because I don't want the guard cav to be exhausted anymore, because that's really slowing me down. But instead, we're just going to hold the way it is. We're going to hold. Down here, there's no combats. It's just that one. Oh, wait. Well, the French did have a -1 to that attack because of the rain. I forgot about that, but it didn't change the result. They were +7. So that's it. This is looking out to be a pretty clear strategic French victory, which is something that I'm just being honest. I don't think maybe my earlier clips will vindicate me here in this, but I really didn't think the French could pull it off. But man, are they pulling it off? Quite spectacularly too. Let's see. I'm going to play it through just because why not, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so my initial concern was, well, at least my thought for the French is put an A here, throw a detachment out to secure the road to Wavre. But the blown unit return step is before the detachment step, so Wellington was able to pop down the first corps right there and stop that from happening, which means it is very likely, and I would argue most likely, that the French are not going to get their supply, their breakthrough 5 bonus points with the supply. On the bright side for the French, they've killed enough units and not lost that many to possibly suggest that they could get a decisive strategic victory here if they can beat Perch. Now, well, not Perch, the Prussians. Now, Blucher is in a precarious position. Of course, thematically, he would want to retreat that way. But he's in a bad spot, and Perch is the real problem with this because, well, everyone else could just run away. Perch is in a zone of influence, which means that the guard can just advance and hit him right away, which is not good. It really feels like this is what it's going to come down to, just Napoleon crushing the Prussians. There's not really much the Anglo-Allied could do. Either he could have deployed for battle here, Wellington, and lost that, or he could have saved that, and that was worth more points. And I think historically it's worth more as well. All right, let's cut to the chase and let's see what happens. Oh, there's one. I deployed I realized, and maybe I should have done this, would have been a little cheesy, I think, but hey, whatever, it's a game. I could have retreated with him and gone 1, 2, 3, and actually he would have won the race to here before he would have gotten there, which would have been, well, bad for the lines of supply, but I didn't.
And I realized that in the last movement phase, and so the French just deployed that guy here, so that stops him from doing that, and that would allow him to swing down and get to here to stop that from happening. That's about it. The massacre of the Prussian army begins. One quick thing before we begin movement phase. Both Zieten and Bulow retreated. This is so they could extricate themselves. That practically dooms Perch. But, I mean, if they don't retreat Bulow, he's going to die, and Perch will most likely die. They'll both probably get knocked out. Because this next turn, yeah, it just probably wouldn't end well. So we chose to save the better unit, and Perch is probably doomed. Preliminary maneuvering, I think the Prussians might pass. Now, that may doom both Bulow and Perch, but if I just keep moving, that's just going to give them more moves, which isn't good either. So I think I'm going to pass. The French have 1, 2, 3 detachments now. 4. French are +4. Not detachments, units, +4. Well, we'll get that later. +4. Oh, good decision by the Allies. 5 moves left for the French. Now I gotta get that die. With only 5 moves, and of course the real decision just to defeat Perch in detail here. The Grouchy, the reserve cav, took 3 moves to circle around and 2 moves for the guard cav to get into a position there. The guard should crush Perch. I don't really think he has a chance. And even if he's blown, we're on the last day. If he's blown on the last day, I believe he's dead. I know that's the case in the Gettysburg game. I actually technically haven't read that rule, but I'm assuming it's correct. And either way, I'll check it before I apply anything. That's it. I don't think Real's going to attack Bulow, and I don't think... Well, Thielmann is definitely not going to attack Girard, and Girard's not willing to risk dying to Thielmann. It looks like the rest of the Prussian army will retreat east. They had to lose somebody. They had to sacrifice somebody as a rear guard, and it looks like Perch is that sacrifice. At least now, when they run away, they'll have a screen, more or less, of these detachments. But then again, killing the detachments also gets the French points. So we only have 1 combat here. 2 for the guard. They are not in a town, so this reserve cav will flip to exhausted to give themselves an extra 1, which puts it to 3. 2 units are adjacent, which puts it up to 5. And 1 cavalry is adjacent, which is adjacent to the attacking unit, which puts it up to 6. Plus 6 roll. Jesus. And even though that was a terrible roll for the French, that is a dead corps. And that puts the victory point total. These are negated. So that puts the victory point total at 12. And that's it. And I believe that's going to be the game. I don't know if I'm going to play the last turn. I probably won't, just because it's going to be the Prussians retreating, maybe forming a defensive line somewhere around here. I'd probably flip at that point. I'd probably flip Blucher to his battle side just to say hold the line. I don't think the French are going to be able to get to actually. Well, even if the French got to Wavre, it really wouldn't matter because the Prince of Orange would probably pulverize them. Then again, that might give time for Van Damme and Darillon to get up there and pulverize the Brunswickers. It looks to me like this is a strategic victory for the French. I'm gonna cut out, read some rules, and then I'll come back and we'll see if we're doing the last turn or not. So I decided to play the last turn because why not? I mean, yeah, might as well. This is the situation. So currently, I think I might have misplayed Zieten. I don't think he can go there. because he was here, and then I went 1, 2, and that's 1. That's moving away, so I'd have to go here because then he's in. But that's actually a better spot because he's in +1 anyway. Anyway, I think the Allies are about to pass. Now, in theory, this could be catastrophic because a corps could come plowing down. Actually, I'm not going to pass purely because of that. Looks like Wellington, I'll swing maybe Wellington over to Waterloo to secure that. Because I do have Ney there, and Ney is on his battle side. You know, Ney on his battle side. Wellington's not on his battle side because he needed to get a detachment to here. I could have marched in theory, I might have been able to march the First Corps there, but I couldn't because HQ range. So, the French, I'm like halfway through the turn now, have been closing in. This looks like the Prussian line. The biggest problem is if I now roll for movement points, the French are probably going to plow through the Brunswickers up there. So I'm going to keep going, and then I'll come back to you when somebody passes. All right, at this point, the Allies are going to pass. I did get the Reserve Corps into Waterloo, which will stop any of that nonsense from happening. I did move Von Damme towards it just to threaten it. And we're closing in on Thielmann. Thielmann will probably going to practically surround him, at least with cavalry. Should give us a good die roll modifier. Let's see how many moves the French get. The French are going to get a lot. They have a lot of pluses. 5 plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 10 moves remaining. Come back to you for the combat. The French were able to do quite a bit with that. Specifically, Girard here in the 4th Corps, which is all the way back here, they had 5 moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think they were actually 1 space south of that. But either way, they were able to swing around with 5 moves. 2 moves to move both of those guys into position. 1 move to move him, and 1 move to move him. 2 moves, to move Real. So that's a total of 10. And the French really have, they're going to have 2 combats. We'll do the combats live, and then we'll cut, and I'll give you my closing thoughts on the session, and then probably on the game after my first time with the French, first successful time with the French, and after playing it a decent amount, maybe 4 or 5 times. All right. The guard's going to attack with a +2. +2 for the guard. It is, I don't think it can flip to, a cavalry corps, a fresh cavalry corps is supporting the attack, so he'll flip. That's another +1, so now we're at +3. There's 2 adjacent units, so that brings it up to +5. And 2 cavalry corps that are next to it, so we're at +7, which I can't do. And then the Prussians are a whopping +2, so that's a net +5 for the French. Oh, so +5 is only a retreat result, and the Prussians hold. That's all they needed to do. 1, 2, 3. Actually, you'd have to go here. 1, 2, 3. The guard advances. The Allies decline to attack. No matter what, the French are going to get 1 attack. And they're going to use it on this detachment with Girard. Girard's going to be coming in with a +3 total with the cavalry, because the cavalry will give it +1. Girard gives it +1. Detachment +2. +1 Prussians for the town. +3 for blue. +3 for blue. That is an eliminated detachment. Oh, boy. That's it. And this is going to be the end result. So I'll come back with a mini review, thoughts on the session, and so on and so forth. Okay, so the net victory points, these are negated because, they're both worth 1. Each detachment's worth 1 victory point. Corps are worth 3 victory points. So the net victory points is 13 for the French. 13 victory points. That's a strategic victory, the highest they can get. How the battle went, if you remember, I just like going over it. I think it was pretty cool. The French kind of really seized on the opportunity, got some forward detachments, were able to deploy a detachment into Nivelle, and then get into Nivelle with Vendôme and the Third Corps. In that position, they split the Anglo-Allied army, with Hill and Orange's corps on this side of Nivelle and the Reserve Corps here protecting the line up to Waterloo. Now, of course, I could have, in theory, instead of moving the Reserve Corps here, pulled the Reserve Corps over there, but that would have, again, threatened Waterloo, which is not good. What happened to the Prussians? Well, the Prussians were in a position where they were pushing, because when that thrust was happening, the Prussians were in a position where they were pushing, and there was this big, really a bulge. The Prussians were extended at their maximum extent to maybe around this line, but the Guard turned around, attacked the French with the support of the Prussians here. Instead of going, I had my original plan to go up here, turned around and attack them. And with that in mind, I mean, they kind of folded the Prussians in on themselves. This guy's probably the star of the Prussian army, the Third Corps. I mean, they got hammered and hammered and hammered, even with massive modifiers, and they held every single time, which is a little nuts, to be honest. A little nuts how much they held. Eventually, the French just turned their full attention on the Prussians, kind of enveloping them. And this is not a good position going forward for the Prussians. They're almost out of detachments. The French are on their heels. I mean, in this situation, I really think maybe, well, actually not maybe, I think one corps escapes. That'll be the guy who got beat up. Because, I mean, if we win another turn, the Second Corps advances, locks them both in a Zoc, and then they're surrounded and obliterated. The Anglo-Allies got off. They only lost one corps, but it was a devastating corps. It was up here, and of all corps, the Second Corps, those boys counterattacked, destroyed it. They were then blown by Anglo-Allied counterattack, but they blunted the Anglo-Allies enough to the point where the Anglo-Allies lost a lot of their offensive punch. Losing that cavalry corps, losing Oxbridge was huge. Yeah. And I think strategically, this is a huge victory. I mean, the French lose minimal casualties, and they really do sweep the field. They did not get the bonus 5 victory points, but they didn't need it. They killed enough units and didn't lose any of their own. Killed 3 whole corps. All right. I guess not that I've ever done reviews before. These are my first videos in general that I've done on board games. But what do I think? Well, my initial thoughts were, and I think I said this in the beginning, man, the Anglo-Allies are overpowered. They really don't have, the French really don't have a chance. And my first couple games or few games really just hammered that home. Man, the French are just getting pounded. But I think if you watch the video, especially, there's like an epiphany moment where I realize, oh my God, I can cut the Anglo-Allied army in 2 if I get to Nivelle. And I deployed a detachment there. I reinforced that detachment. I think I passed at just the right time. I even put another corps over here to tie down Hill's corps. And then I think maybe the biggest mistake of my game was leaving Hill and Orange there and not really doing anything with them. And really just tying down those 2 corps. But then again, I was tying down 2 good French corps as well. I think the thing that really lost me this game, in the long run, the thing that really lost me this game was I was too aggressive with the Prussians. I know I'm saying lose me this game. I'm playing both sides, you dumbo. But if I had, now I'm out of the review, but anyway, if I'd fallen back with the Prussians instead of pressing, it would change. But then again, I mean, I think pressing was a good idea. It's just the Guard turned around and hammered the living crap out of me. All right, back to the review. I am really enjoying the mechanics of this game. I love like the chess-like attitude. I think it is balanced now. I really do. And I really think that, here's the thing. Everyone's talking about this man, and everyone's specifically talking about this side. That's it right there. That number 3 limits everything.
you can deploy around it. And as long as you drive enough of a wedge between the Prussian and the British armies, or Anglo-Allied, sorry, you can avoid that. And I think I illustrated that because, I mean, the one time I deployed him in battle formation, it wasn't really worth it, or I thought about it. I think I explained my reasoning for that relatively well. All right, so I'm doing a review. I don't even have a system, and I'm doing a review. Would I recommend the game or not? Yes, definitely. First of all, it's cheap. It's not that expensive. Second of all, the map is gorgeous. I have a minor complaint about the darkness of the hexes. I think they could be a little darker just so it's more clear, and it's hard to read the hex numbers. You really got to get in close. Am I nitpicking? Yeah, I'm nitpicking. That's a joke. Well, not really a joke. That's my honest opinion on it. The game is great. I love the counters. I love the system. I love me some Mark Herman games. Like I said, I'm a fanboy. There's a lot of strategic decisions in this game, but it's really not that complex. And the other thing about it is a lot of Waterloo games focus on like this area in sort of like a rectangle. Because Herman gives you this side and this side, now you can do what I did and literally just sweep around. I could have gone further left, but I decided against it because I felt like I had enough of a wedge. But that's it. What did I say? Recommended or not recommended? Recommended. Huzzah. My only real complaint is, why doesn't the King's German Legion have a star mark? They're so awesome. Gotta love the King's German Legion. They deserved it. Don't give it to them. They don't need any more stars. Maybe take one away from Orange and give it to the King's German Legion. I think that's the best thing to do. All right. Maybe I'll do more reviews if this gets good enough likes, but yeah. I'll talk to you guys. Well, I don't know why I said I'll talk to you guys later. I always say that to my students. Whatever. Thanks for watching.